This is Hank for the Wildflower Bee Farm for June 11th, 2021. Well, this is the St. Robert School hive. We have a swarm move in on June 7th, late in the afternoon. Looks pretty reasonable. This hive is really about trying to take a look at your hive without opening it up, doing a hive inspection without looking. Now, this is the hive a bit later. Look at the activity. What are the bees doing? We always look for activity. It's only the second day. They're not bringing in pollen, probably nectar, but they do seem a little disoriented. They're sort of moving all around, if you will. Not sure what's going on. So part of a hive inspection is watching from the outside. We don't go in and open them up. We try to understand what's happening in the hive by watching and what clues we can get from the outside. I'll talk more about that later, because suddenly this really became an interesting experience the last couple of days if you follow us on Instagram. Look what happened next. I just can't. It looked to us like two swarms joined. There's some science on this, but not a lot. Look at the amount of bees right there. The temperature inside the hive shot up to over 42 degrees Celsius, and bees were still moving around. And then it looked like they were gone, but wait a minute, only half of them went somewhere. So did half of them go? And then we noticed not too far away on a tree, we found another swarm. Is that where they went? Hard to tell. There's no way to trace. For some reason, these bees left. But then we found this. Again, they came back. And again, this has been happening over the last 2 and 3 days, and we're wondering, is this a hive of bees that swarmed and caught up with another swarm and other bees joined? Or is this just one gigantic, humongous hive that came to the St. Robert School hive? Now, it came and then it left. But watch, I wanted you to, I want to leave it on this spot here for the next little while. If you could just have a close look at what the bees on the swarm are doing. You'll see the odd bee doing a waggle. The majority of the bees are just moving around, but there's a few waggles. Now, waggles are when the scouts go out and they try to find a place for this hive to go, but we're not seeing a significant amount. It's like they're still just collecting. This is one of the largest swarms I've ever seen in my life. And so this is the, we just got lucky by watching. We picked this hive to watch the outside. When we saw the swarm come in, we thought in June 7th, they'll settle in or perhaps they'll leave, but at least we'll be able to watch them. But this has almost become like an airport of sorts for swarms, because we had another swarm in there today on the outside that left. And now the bees appear to be carrying on as usual. And I just found and saw a bee bringing in some pollen, and I'll show you that right now. This is the hive just a few minutes ago. You're going to see a bee come along with some pollen. Now, was this bee lost, or was it really bringing pollen in to this hive so that the bees can start preparing for the queen to lay eggs? I don't know. I'm just not sure what happened here. But for some reason, a bee came along and had pollen and just came in and put it in. Look, here he is right there. You can see the yellow on the leg going into the hive. And I mean, what is that all about? So have a look. I'm going to leave it on here when I stop, and you can just sort of study what's happening. You see on the top a group of bees sort of clustering, moving around. I was just out there. It looks pretty much the same. So it doesn't look like they're swarming at this minute, but who knows? There's a group of bees inside the holes, inside the entrance, with they're facing away from us, but they have they're fanning pheromones, so other bees know where they are and can come in. You see the odd bee doing a waggle. Now, I don't know who the audience is. They just seem sort of scattered. I don't know who's picking up the signals. You also see bees of a very different species almost. It looks like we've got some dark European, some Italian bees, and maybe even some Canolians. It's just a very, very action-packed front of a hive. Now, you don't have to open up the hive to see what's going on. It looks like there's a lot of insecurity. They're anxious. They're not collecting very much pollen, so there's probably not a lot of honeycomb made, if there's any. Looking at the sensors, there wasn't a lot going on inside the hive as far as movement after about 11 o'clock today when that final swarm took off, so I don't know what's going on in there. But the point of this whole exercise is to study and to do a hive assessment without going into your hive. And you need the video as Mary provides here, or you need some kind of camera, because to stand this close, you're going to absolutely disrupt the bees, and they will, not be themselves. You cause stress. It's not as stressful as opening a hive. But when you use a camera and you're quite far away, the bees don't know this is going on, so there's no disruption to their regular day, yet you can still collect samples of data, but also do a hive inspection. So we inspect our hives, because of the research component, on a regular basis, more than once a week. Probably a couple times a week we're getting video or some types of technology to help us understand how the hives are doing. And you can't do that if you're going to open up the hive. Now remember, conventional beekeeping says you open the hive probably every 2 weeks. Think about it. You take off the roof if it's a Langstroth hive, and you go in and you start to move things around and look, and there's a risk of injuring the queen and so on. So this is how we do our hive inspections. We were just lucky that as we were putting this video together with this video on the St. Robert School hive, to be able to see what was going on. This is still a fascinating story. There's no science on this. Is that an airport type launch pad? Do other swarms want to come there first, then send out their scouts and see where to go? Or is this all coming from this one log hive? I'm not thinking so. Well, I'm Hank from the Wildflower Bee Farm. I'll give you another minute or two to have a look here. You have an amazing week, and it's going to be an amazing one here on the farm. Be safe. Have a great week.